If you grew up like me, you read a lot of children's literature, and you're familiar with the basic formula. A group of children who goes through adventures, and at the end of each book in the series, everything's tied up in a neat little bow. But here's the thing. I can't tell you a single thing that happened in those books. I would be hard-pressed to tell you the names of the main characters. Once I read them, I just kind of forgot what happened. Now this is true for a lot of children's literature and a lot of books that we grew up with. But not for Lemony Snicket. Lemony Snicket is different. It's been 13 years since the release of the last book, and you can still find fans interacting on forums and social media, all discussing the themes and events that happened in this book series. So how did he do it? How did Lemony Snicket take a basic children's book format and turn it into something that we are all still talking about today? What's his secret? Well, I think I finally figured it out. Let's talk about it.
I mean, A Series of Unfortunate Events was kind of all born out of a response to terrible children's books, which insist on delighting you, and it's tiresome.
If you are interested in stories with happy endings, you would be better off reading some other book. In this book, not only is there no happy ending, there is no happy beginning, and very few happy things in the middle. From page 1 of the books, Lemony Snicket warns us that we won't have a happy ending. We won't get all the answers that we're looking for. Despite all of the warnings in all of the books, when people read the final chapters, they are often surprised that there is no happy ending and not all of their questions have been answered. After all, this is not what a good book series is supposed to look like. We are conditioned to like happy endings. Our brains like complete thoughts, so much so that there is a name for the phenomenon.
Bluma Zeigarnik was an early 20th century Soviet psychologist who noticed that servers could flawlessly remember a customer's order right up until the order was delivered. Once the task was done, the memory went kaput.
When your brain is working on a particular task, your memory holds on to the information that you need to complete that task. One great way to get a song unstuck from your head is to memorize all the words or listen to the complete song. Once your brain has completed the task, it will forget any information related to it. This is why you can cram for a math quiz and completely forget what you memorized the day after you took the test. It's also why I cannot remember a darn thing that happened in any of the 100 Babysitter Club books that I spent most of 3rd grade reading. In order to fully explore the Zeigarnik effect, we have to talk about J.J. Abrams and the mystery box.
Tannen's Mystery Magic Box.
The mystery box is a concept that originated when J.J. Abrams was a little boy and his grandfather took him to a magic shop. He bought his grandson a mystery box, and to this day, J.J. Abrams has it sitting on his shelf and has not opened it.
Now, I bought this decades ago, and I'm not kidding. If you look at this, you'll see it's never been opened. Why have I not opened this?
He found that opening it would ruin the surprise, and he much rather enjoyed wondering what was inside that box. He uses this in his writing on the TV show Lost to create intrigue for the viewers.
I find myself drawn to infinite possibility and that sense of potential, and I realize that mystery is the catalyst for imagination.
True to his word, at the end of the end, Lemony Snicket does not give us all of the answers. This can feel like bad or sloppy writing because this is not what we're used to, but if we dig into the author's intentions, we can see that he did this on purpose to keep the mystery alive for his readers. The sugar bowl acts as its own mystery box, as we never find out what's inside, as well as a few of the plot points that we will never get answers for.
I meet people who stand in line, sometimes for hours, just to tell me the plot of a book that I have written. Because they've been thinking about it. And just because they were always curious when something happens, and it's in this way that perhaps I have succeeded in doing what I set out to do.
These untied plot threads and unsolved mysteries are why the Lemony Snicket series has stayed alive in the imaginations of readers like myself. It also left us wanting more. Now, in the case of J.J. Abrams, we have a cautionary tale because at the end of Lost, many fans were angry and gave up on the show altogether. At the end of Lost, we had the sense that J.J. Abrams never intended to finish the story and never knew what the ending was himself. It felt like a cop-out. But in the case of Lemony Snicket, we always knew that the author had the complete story inside his head. Because the story only exists within the mind of the author, and authors have so much creative control over their work, there was no pressure on the author to actually let us in on the secret and tell us the rest of the story.
What is the fate, this young man asks, of the Quagmire triplets and of all the other people on the submarine? What is all of our fates, really?
Fans thought that we may never get the answers we were looking for. That is, until Netflix announced that they were going to be adapting a series of unfortunate events for their viewing platform. After Nickelodeon's disappointing 2004 adaptation where they kicked the author off the set halfway through filming,
the movie you are about to see is extremely unpleasant.
I had always wanted to see this faithfully adapted for live action, and I never thought that it would actually happen, let alone with the author at the helm of the ship. So when I heard about this adaptation, I got excited.
Don't you have any burning questions? Any unsolved mysteries?
Working with a team of writers meant that there was going to be pressure to finish the story, to give us the pieces of the puzzle that we didn't have before.
Don't you want to know what happens next?
What happens next?
And I'm happy to say that this adaptation is amazing. It faithfully adapts all of the books, tells the full story of the Baudelaire orphans, their parents, Lemony Snicket and Beatrice, and wraps up a lot of the loose ends that we were looking for. The downside of this is that it closes the story. The downside is that my imagination doesn't have everything left to work on. But I'm happy to say that there are still a few mysteries left, just enough that I will still continue to love this series and think about all the different possibilities. It took over 13 years since the last book was released for me to get the answers to my questions. While some may find that frustrated, I found it wonderful. I'm glad that I had to wait this long. I'm glad that I got the answers, but I'm glad that I had to wait this long to get them because it kept the story alive in my imagination for so long. So, Mr. Snicket, if you ever see this video, thank you so much for creating a story where the mystery was intact.